So we're going to get started. I'm Mark Cranny, operating partner at Andreessen Horowitz. Glad to see a great crowd out today. So what we're going to start with is the steps, just a little bit of high-level overview of what you're going to see today. Marketing and lead gen. Down below are all the different buckets, inside sales, field sales. Some of you may just think you're going to do inside sales right now. I would probably beg to differ if you're really going to go scale something up, and or on the opposite, if you're a top-down, going after your market top-down with outside direct guys, you're probably going to have to build up some inside sales capabilities in your journey. And then customer success, which typically people wait too long to really implement the type of best practices around that group, and if you get behind here, you can really slow down the growth of your company. So we'll spend a lot of time there. The presentation is built. I mean, this is all these slides. Like, this is it, right? For marketing and lead gen. One thing, just so you understand how all this works. The bottom chevrons define a value proposition, generate awareness and demand creation. Building a customer pipeline. Those are your stages and gates from a process standpoint, right? Now, you may not have defined these types of things, and what you put in here or how many stages and gates you, as your own individual company, develop, that's completely up to you. These are ideas. These are the big ones you can do, and or if you've done what you've done, continue to do it if it's working. But hopefully these give you some ideas if you haven't got into this type of process definition before. In the blue, left to right, are activities. Typically nonlinear activities that you would use throughout these stages and gates. North and south in the orange up above the blue are tools and deliverables that you need to create for your marketing and sales organizations. On the inside sales standpoint, Jamie will be covering all the stages and gates from running a BDR and or inside sales team and the different flavors, lead prioritization, call prep, qualifications you're going to hear over and over again. And then the handoff between whether it's from the lead gen type folks to the sellers and inside sales organization, and or if you're scaling up and you have outside direct in the field, in territory type salespeople, what those type of handoffs look for. And then all the tools and deliverables that you really should be building out as you go through your go-to-market journey. Section I'll be covering, pretty granular, particularly for the outside in-territory direct organizations. A lot of the same principles in here will apply if you're a complete inside team. There might be some lighter touches in some of the processes and or the tools, but really from the discovery bucket up front, really understanding, seek first to understand and then be understood. Answering 3 basic questions, which I'll get into later from a sales process standpoint. Why do anything different than what you're doing now? Why you over the competition? And then why now? And all the tools and deliverables to do that. The big key buckets here are the discovery, competing from a technical validation event standpoint, depositioning your competition when you're doing that, and also building a value or a business case or ROI, and really elevating your whole validation event process from technically validating to build, combining that with an ROI type diagnostic. And when you're going through these validation events, you're building really what I call a proof of value, which can help not only insulate yourself from competition, but can help you from price pressure down the line, and also make sure that you are getting the deals done. You're going and doing a lot of the work. How many people in the room have a lot of deals hanging out there for over 6 months? Just one guy. All right, a couple, maybe over a year. Yeah. You guys need to build more pipeline if that's all you got. And then customer success. Again, from training and support, how to prep and do the handoff, to nurturing an account, Who can tell me where the best place to sell something is? Raise a hand real quick. Yeah, where you've already sold something, right, is the best place to sell something. It's the easiest place to sell something. You know their criteria, you know their power structure, you know the process, and you don't want to neglect your customers because a lot of you guys are, that first deal is just the starting point. So we'll talk a lot about that in the customer success section. The other thing we're going to talk about is, we have some newer type companies and/or some that are running midstream. What is the right flavor, bottoms up or top down? And when I say bottoms up or top down, I'm really talking about looking at the value proposition in our product. Is how easy is the product to use? How easy is it to deploy? Is it adopted by users and then virally takes off throughout the organization versus in a freemium premium type model, or is it very complex, requires a lot of integration, requires a big technical validation event, requires a lot of ROI and business case development work, and very few people are going to decide. That's a different type of sales organization, and that's more of the top down. And/or is it a hybrid, right? Am I going to need all these types of sales processes and motions? So and really what all this pivots around is who the audience is that I need to get people happily involved with my value proposition. So 3 buckets. You're going to hear this over and over and over. 3 buckets of audiences in these big companies you're trying to sell to. The CXOs, the mid-level management, VPs and directors, and then users and user managers, is going to require typically 3 different marketing motions, 3 different sales motions, different messaging, because they all have different criteria from a buying standpoint. And getting very granular in building out your teams, your tools, and your processes and your programs from a go-to-market standpoint is really critical, particularly early on when you don't have a lot of resources. So what's the best bang for my limited amount of dollars early on in the life cycle of the company? So making these types of decisions and how quick you're scaling these different types of models is pretty crucial, because if you can go down one path that's the wrong one, you could end up lost in the woods and die. So, all right. So maybe talk a little bit, a couple examples or 3 examples of these types of top up or bottom up, top down, and or hybrid examples. Everybody familiar with this little company that just went public? Box. Anybody from Box here? All right. So Box, and this is, don't quote me on the progression, but I think it's directionally correct, and I spent a lot of time with Aaron early on. But early on, it was primarily an inbound and then outbound organization. Am I right? Led by a really good inbound or a really good inside sales team. A lot of demand creation from a marketing standpoint, and they were doing very well. And they were doing very well with this freemium or premium model, getting into big accounts. Right? Go get some land in these accounts and expand later. And they were getting they were doing a very good job landing new accounts, but things would slow down pretty quickly inside the account. I mean, because essentially in these big enterprises, there's incumbents, and the incumbents, tough to go get to a Fortune 500 company and completely convert them from SharePoint to Box. And it's great, they got that, they expanded, but eventually they're going to run into resistance, right, of inertia and incumbency. And I remember having a long conversation with Aaron and team. I said, look, you're eventually going to have to go hire an outside direct sales force. You're going to have to put boots on the ground. There's a little sheet in front of you. If you could take a couple minutes and just score yourself on your value proposition, the market you're going after, how complex is my solution, right? Is it easy? Like, are users going to adopt it, swipe a credit card, and off, like development tools like a GitHub, right? Are they easy? Is it easy to deploy? What level in a big company am I going to have to enter in? Can I enter in and get deals at the user level? Do I have to go to mid-management, or do I have to go top-down it, like a CIO or a CMO and top-down it? What's the cost, at least the initial cost, of getting involved with your product? Is it $50 a month, right? If it doesn't cost that much, it's hard to go build an outside direct sales force because you can't afford one because you're not asking for enough money. It's one thing to think about. And, what's the delivery method? Is it on-prem? Is it SaaS? Is it some kind of hybrid? So do a little score yourself. And then the next one is a little bit more depth around the product offering, target market, company size that you're going after, what's your ideal customer, being an individual contributor or an executive, average initial sales price. Is your sales process transactional, or is it complex? How many buyers are required to get a deal done, right? Is it like getting a freaking bill passed through Congress? Even if you get through the House, you got to get it through the Senate. Even if you get through the House and the Senate, it's got to go to the executive branch. Even if the president signs it, it could flip over to the judicial side and take years. So, yes, the question is, bottoms up versus top down. Are we going to get any specifics on, like indicators? I think what you're asking to grow in the team. I think you'll have a better feel at the end of this as far as specifics on growing the team. I think that a lot of that is just so specific to your company, your value proposition, the reaction from the buyers. But if you're not getting it right, I mean, you can waste a lot of, particularly in the product market fit phase, you can waste a lot of time doing it the wrong way, or you're not, you're leaving a lot of openings for a competitor if you're doing it the wrong way as well. So I think you'll have a better feel as far as you specifically. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's probably one of the biggest challenges of a head of sales or CRO or this a CEO working with their sales and marketing executives. Okay, in one of the previous slides, we only put partner in the deployment phase. We don't, right? And I have a whole other. We got another section. We didn't have the time to go build out the partner piece. But I will say something about the partners in early stage. And again, it depends on the value proposition in the company. You need to control your own destiny early on. And the partner, in my humble opinion, partners, we're talking about hardcore enterprise software gear and stuff like that. But partners, they care about their stuff, right? And whether it's a VAR type partner, whether it's an SI type partner, whether it's a big company, and a technology company, and their type of stuff, and they can have some transformational partnerships. But if they're having to go to market with your product, and you're not doing anything to build up your own capabilities to pull through, then you're at their whim. One of the questions I get a lot from the earlier stage companies is, all right, who should I hire, Mark? And particularly for the seed to A round, maybe even in the B round or C. Should I hire a real VP of sales? I'm just starting out. Should I hire a director level? Should I hire an individual contributor? I'm going to spend a lot of time in here because a lot of you guys are a little further along than we just did this for a YC class. And it really depends on you as the founder and CEO and what your skill set is. Remember, if you're going to go hire, just to get started, hire a bunch of individual contributors to do this. You should probably know what you're doing in the sales realm. If you've got a good feel, want to stay engaged with it, but you don't want to go, and you want somebody to go put a lot of the processes in. You could find the director type up and comer. Maybe he or she could grow into that VP of sales role. Or if you're further along, go hire somebody that's been there and done it, and that has a playbook and can adjust that playbook to whatever your value proposition and your market is. So just want to cover that real quick. And then hunter-farmer, another controversial one. We can debate this one later too. The hunter-farmer model. All right, this one I feel real strongly about as well. The hunter that got the deal knows how to get the deal, the next deal. I don't know why somebody would want to take somebody that just did a deal in a company off that account and focus them on a new account and not have any ability to use that resource later on. I believe you should have farmer-type groups in your organization, particularly in customer success, that are nurturing the account and can do the easier upsell and cross-sells, but that should be also solved so you do not have a conflict from a comp standpoint and a process standpoint to bring that original salesperson back into the deal, particularly in a high-stakes type situations where you haven't completely sold out the account. So things to think about as you go build out these different teams, because you'll run into this a lot, the debate between hunters and farmers, or should we just let our partners do it, take care of our customers, because they care so much about our customers, and not our customers. So something to think about, particularly early on, right? Later on, these organizations will bifurcate, and they'll become more distinct organizations with distinct, built-in processes, and things will work a lot better. But early on in the cycle, the 0 to 10, the 10 to 50, the 50 to 100 type revenue ramps, these are the types of things you need to think about as you build out your go-to-market. All right?